Hare Krishna. So today we are going to see the main point of a very interesting book written by Srila Bhakti Swarupa Maharaj, whose name is also Dr. T.D. Singh, in 1979. So I'm going to share the main point of that book. Yes, so before starting, of course, I dedicate that presentation to my different teachers in science and spirituality, and mainly Srila Bhakti Swarupa Maharaj, Dr. D.D. Singh, who did a PhD in physical organic chemistry in 1974. And I also dedicate that presentation to Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of the Bhaktivedanta Institute, also in 1974. So we can ask that question, how reincarnation is seen in the world. Now, more and more people have some interest into reincarnation, karma, Vedic philosophy, India, like that. But usually, reincarnation is seen in the West as a simple religious faith. And actually, this essay about Dr. T.D. Singh wrote in 1979 is an attempt to provide a basic theoretical framework from which we can work more. But for that, before discussing about reincarnation, we need to know, to determine what is the nature of life and its place in the cosmos. And actually, there are mainly two approaches of reincarnation. The modern scientific approach is called reductionism, and the spiritual approach we're going to see mainly from the Vedic perspective. So the approach, reductionist approach, is mainly dealing with atoms and the void. Because most modern scientists now believe that blind physical laws and the laws of chance govern the cosmos. They say that there is no designer, no creator, no God, no intelligence, when the whole cosmic phenomenon. And actually, quite a few scientists, like Paul Dirac, mathematician, he expressed the idea that he does not see how the postulate of God can help us in any way. So we can see that the conclusion of the reductionist person, it is that religion cannot describe reality. And thus life in the cosmos should be understood in terms of molecules alone. This implies that human existence has no meaning, no purpose, and no goal. And if we compare with the religious approach, there's a belief in a great design. And especially the religionist person, we can say the spiritualist person, they make the point, they focus on two main aspects of the world in order to indicate or to prove that there is the existence of God. The first aspect is working of the universe, which is very precise. We see the planets, the atoms, even in the human body, the veins. This proves that it is a great designer. And also, we have feelings, emotion. We have friendship, we have love, we have some feeling of justice, beauty, and even some spiritual experience. This can also show that God is there. So when we have these two beliefs, two systems of belief, which one is the best to explain the origin of nature of life? Actually, when we study between science and religion, the conflict, the clash, it is mainly because two systems of belief. The scientists believe in chance, and the religion is in God. So which one is superior in order to describe correctly life in the cosmos? Can we say that, for example, a computer appeared by chance, that any city like New York or Paris or Delhi, appear by chance? This is a question. So, in order to study the topics, Dr. Singh explained in his essay, first step in resolving the conflict between science and religion. It's mainly coming because of a misunderstanding about the foundation of knowledge. We have seen in a previous presentation that the meaning of science is coming from the Latin scientia, which means knowledge. The Veda means also knowledge. But it is knowledge which does not deal with the same thing. We can see that there are two categories of knowledge. The knowledge of inert matter, and this is the subject that material science is studying, and the knowledge of spirit or life. So we can ask the question, can we resolve that conflict, or can we understand the role of these two, science and spirituality, in our effort and the able to understand what is life? Actually, according to chemistry, living bodies are made up of four major chemical elements: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. And these four elements, they combine together, and by different steps, they different interaction, they help us to understand what is the nature of the living entities, material nature of the living entities. And by using that word, especially the chemists, are assuming that by proper interaction, the self-organization of these molecules took place, and life can eventually evolve. This is some assumption. And we can see that in science, in any science, we have made a lot of progress. But the question is there, can we create life? We see that all these main four elements, can be synthesized in the chemical laboratory. But unfortunately, there is no life symptoms visible when all these chemicals are combined. Suppose if we can create life, so we have a material body. We know to some extent quite a lot about this body, and we know about the elements that are making the body. So can we take this element individually and mix them again and create life? Like, for example, in the test tube. Can we make life in the test tube? This is what many scientists, especially chemists, are saying or are trying to come to that conclusion. But till now, we cannot create life. But we can change the nature of some items. Even in a book called Biology Today, one Nobel Prize winning chemist, Albert Einstein, he remarked, in my search for the secret of life, I ended up with atoms and electrons, which have no life at all. Somewhere along the line, life ran out through my finger. So in my old age, I'm now retracing my steps. So actually, this takes a lot of humility to recognize that. The person was a great chemist, he get the Nobel laureate. And he worked so many years, trying to understand what is life through atoms and molecules. And he accepted the fact that he did not discover anything about life. So he's changing his point of view. It is a very crucial question, actually, because every one of us who has some belief. We can believe in science, we can believe in religion, we can believe in some values of life, we can believe in ourselves, we can believe in God. But it's very interesting topic to try to understand what is life. But since modern science did not give any, we can say, not scientific answer, and since many religions are mainly a question of faith, which cannot be proved, it seems that we need, Dr. Singh was making the point, we need a new paradigm for life and the absolute truth. Paradigm we can go deeper into the knowledge given by science and the knowledge given by the religion. But so, if we understand, or at least we accept that there are a few options to define what is life, now we can go into the topics of reincarnation. And Dr. Singh is going to try to present reincarnation in a more scientific way. He's going to take the presentation of the Vedas. In the Vedas, which have been written about 5,000 years ago in Sanskrit language in India, and it is described that the supreme absolute truth is a supremely conscious being. And absolute truth has two energies, aparaprakriti, we call matter, and paraprakriti, we call atma, or the living entities. And according to the Veda, life is a non-physical fundamental particle called the atma, which is characterized by consciousness. So this is the definition of life according to the Veda. And these two energies, the paraprakriti matter, the paraprakriti, you can say atma, the spirit soul of them. So we can ask a question now. What are the properties of life according to the Veda, the atma? First, we can understand the Veda explains that there are means it's an unlimited number of living entities in the Atma. And every Atma has consciousness. The source of consciousness is the Atma, the spirit soul. But the content of that consciousness, it is the interaction between the Atma, the soul, and the body. We all have a body. But do we have a soul? Is a question. So we can know that the material body is divided into two categories, the subtle body and the gross body. Gross body, is a set of 5 elements. We say earth, solid matter, liquid like water, radiant energy, like fire, gases like air, and ethereal substances like ether. And we have also subtle body, mind, intelligence, and the apparent self. In the Veda, we call sometimes the term of ahankara, means false ego. which is a false identification of oneself with the material body. So, we can have a question. Is it possible that chemistry and physics explain why there are differences between a living body and a dead body? So in his essay, Dr. T.D. Singh is going on by presenting the topics of consciousness and the biological form. He explains that according to the Vedas, the varieties of life form are product of a combination and permutation of the three modes of material nature. We call it tribunal, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So according to the Vedas, why we have different forms, we have the human beings, the animals, the plants. It is a product of mixing, combination, and changing of the three modes of material nature. And thus there are millions of forms where the self, means the Atma, resides inside the body. And this Atma, the living force, the living entity, is showing different activity, different behavior, different mentality, according to the tribunal that affect consciousness. So when we speak in the Veda about reincarnation as a change of body, it's interesting to understand that it is a consciousness means helping us to understand that topics. And we can first see the change in the form of the bodies and consciousness in one lifetime. We see we are very small. We have a very small body, We have a baby, child, a teenager, Our body is changing. So we become older, we see it changing. White hair are coming, Old age is coming. But the person inside the body is the same. Remember, and I remember when I was young, still remember when I was 10, 15 years old. So it was many years ago, but I'm still the same person. So the Veda explains there are two types of reincarnation, internal or continuous, and external or discontinuous. So this is in French language actually, because I'm also doing the presentation in French. And here that picture explains the internal reincarnation. Baby, child, teenager, adults, mature person, old person, after we to die. So actually we can see that this is a proof that we are the same person from the birth to the end to death. We have different bodies. So this is the internal reincarnation. And of course, in the Vedas, in Bhagavad Gita, for example, Krishna explained, speaking to his disciple, as a student, as a person put on new garments, giving up old one, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless one. Krishna explained that we have a body in this lifetime. We are changing, our body is changing, but very, very slowly. And in the same way, when you are going to die, we say we are going to leave that body and take another one. And Krishna explained also in Gita in 8th chapter, whatever state of being, when he quit his body, also the 40, that state he will attain without failure. So, Krishna explained here the importance of remembering, of thinking, of consciousness, especially at the time of death. This is going to give us a new body. And in the Veda, in the Bhagavatam, we have the story of King Bharata. Actually, he was a great sage, At the end of his life, he was living alone in the Himalayas, meditating on the absolute truth. And he became attached to a deer, actually. And that attachment for the deer, produced that he stopped his strong meditation and spirituality. And at the end of his life, when he left his body, he was thinking of the deer. So in his next life, he takes the body of the deer. Of course, the Bhagavatam explained, what ordinary deer, and after he remembers his past life, and he understands the lesson of his past life, and he focuses on spirituality and realizes his goal of life. So we see in the Vedic presentation, Dr. Edison is explaining that the living entity is carrying by the subtle body and the law of karma. And he explained what is karma. In our daily life, we use only karma, yes, it's my karma, but good karma, bad karma. So actually karma is a function, an activity of the living entity within the framework of his free will and under the influence of the three modes of matter nature over a span of time. So it means karma is the result of our activity. We have the free will, we have the triguna influencing us, especially we are conditioned by life. And by free will, we can choose to try to liberate us from this conditioning. The Vedas are very precise. Vedas is a full knowledge and it's give a lot of detail about the nature of life, nature of living entities, nature of to understand the present is a result of our past and the future is going to be the result of our present. So according to our present consciousness, we can give some way to our life. We have seen if we take the reductionist approach, life is only atoms and molecule, so there is nothing before life and nothing after. So even one French scientist, Jacques Monod, was saying, life is coming only by hazard. So by hazard, can we produce something? If somebody wants to write a book, can we, is it only by hazard? No, we need some plan, some intelligence, some work. And the Vedic literature explains that for every action that an individual living being performs, he must undergo an appropriate reaction. This is why good action means good reaction, bad action means bad reaction. And the reincarnation definition is given inside the Veda. They said that reincarnation is a conscious journey, the living entity, from one body to another, either internally or externally, under the stringent laws of his individual karma. So it is a science, actually, reincarnation. When we study that, it is a science. It's follow, the laws of karma. But we can now try to understand what are the mechanisms of reincarnation, how it's working. We have seen there are two reincarnations. Can say internal and external. Internal means from the beginning of our life, birth to death, body is changing. The external means from I have this body in this lifetime, when I'm going to die, I'm fully going to leave my body, and I'm going to get another body. So it means that it is a travel. the self in different bodies. I know that Dr. Singh was very often saying, yes, we are traveling in this world. We can, of course, travel by foot, by car, by plane, by boat, different parts of the world. We can travel with our mind, we can travel with our consciousness. And we see that these material bodies are all temporary. They have a beginning and end. And we cannot change that. And we are not the controller of this thing. So, Dr. Singh explains that by the laws of karma, we get the result of our action, and under the direction of Paramatma. Paramatma means spirit, the supreme spirit. With these two, so living entity reincarnate in a body according to the mentality. So in another word, the karma is giving us the result of our activity. But the Paramatma is sanctioning that. Yes. So it means the Vedic literature is explaining something more than actually what we think. But it explains that inside our bodies there is a soul, supreme soul. But there is also a Paramatma, the supreme soul inside the same body. So the connection between the two, the soul and Paramatma, is a relationship. Which is why sometimes we can get some inspiration. Yes, Eureka. And actually, many scientists, when they discover some theory, it is because of inspiration. Like Newton, when he discovers the theory of gravitation, he saw an apple falling from a tree. And he understands, yes, this apple is coming from the tree to the earth. It is a genius to understand that. But why that person created that theory and not me, for example? This depends on the parallel. The supreme God. Dr. Singh, he explained that there are two types of, we can say, consciousness. We can have evolution of consciousness, and we can have also devolution of consciousness. So when we speak about evolution, we speak very often about Darwin theory. But the Darwinian evolution, we can say in modern time chemical evolution, assume that it is strictly the morphology of the organism that evolved. It is only the outside, the atoms and molecules, the body is some evolution. But the Vedic literature explains it is not a body with evolving, it is a living being inside the body. So it is a difference between evolution. Two different interpretations for evolution. And we can see that there are some human beings who accept the Veda and some are rebellious to the Veda. We have the free will. So Dr. Singh explained that the human beings who accept the Veda, they work to be in harmony with the Veda. So it is evolution of consciousness, evolution from now, something better. The other way, people who are rebellious to the Veda, against the laws of nature, it is devolution. It is the other way. So when we go a little deeper now into the Vedic literature, Veda means knowledge, like I was saying in the beginning, and the entire purpose of education in the Vedic culture is to mold one's life in such a way that one consciousness will evolve to a higher plane. This is the purpose of education. It is why Vedic wisdom, understands that we have material knowledge. We call para-prakriti, or sin, is temporary knowledge. There is a beginning and an end. in contrast, in opposition to the spiritual knowledge with eternal. Because the soul is eternal. Knowledge of the soul is eternal. Body is temporary. Knowledge of the body is temporary. So it is why in the Vedic literature, if the goal of education is to evolve to a more spiritual plane, so it is why we need for that to become free from the repeated cycle of birth and death, we call the samsara cycle. So we need to get out of the regulation system. It's a big challenge. In Vedanta Sutra, it is said, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, we need to understand what is the absolute truth. According to the Veda, it's not an option. It is a recommendation, strong recommendation. And we see in all species of life, only the human being can do that. Animals, they follow their nature, means we can say their karma. For example, a cow is eating many grass, not eating other animals. Tiger is eating other animals. Every animal has a certain nature, and they follow their nature. But the human being, because we have a free will, and a more important responsibility, of course, we can choose to take the, we can say, to try to can say to progress into spiritual culture, trying to realize ourselves, or to stay in the material world. Evolution or revolution. And now, if we go on with the Vedic presentation, to Tatsumi explain that the process to breaking that chain of reincarnation, birth and death, reincarnation, is called Bhakti Yoga. In the Vedas, there are different yogas that are mentioned. Yoga means to link, Bhakti means devotion. So, in the Vedic literature, it is explained that the most elevated yoga is the Bhakti Yoga. He said in Sanskrit, Yoginam api sarvesh. Krishna explained. So actually, this Bhakti Yoga, it is a spiritual discipline by which one can link up with the absolute truth, the Supreme Person, in love. Love and devotion. But love in the Veda is not a material feeling. We can experience in the material world a lot of material feeling. I love you, you love me, and after some years, it's I hate you. Sometimes it's like that. So love is a spiritual feeling, and actually, this we can say the science of devotion. It is a science of Bhakti Yoga. So in every science, we have different steps. It's not only a belief. This is mainly the difference, between religion and spirituality. Religion means I can be Christian. I can change to become a Muslim, Hindu. I can change my religion. But spirituality in Sanskrit we call Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan means eternal. Dharma means the intrinsic nature. The nature of the living entity is to serve. And actually, when we say to serve means to love. If we love someone, we are going to serve that person. We cannot love anyone without serving that person. So in our modern world now, people, they can love living entities, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, they can love their cats, dog, can love their uh, God, different actually of love. But in Bhakti Yoga, the basic tenet, the important point is in order to get the accurate knowledge, means realized knowledge, means scientific knowledge concerning the absolute, not a feeling. One must train the mind properly so that it is eligible to receive the knowledge coming from the higher source. We see when we do studies, suppose we want to do like uh, BSc, BA, master degree, PhD degree. We know that not everyone can go to a master degree or PhD degree. So we need to have the qualification to do that and the work. And we see it is step by step. We don't explain, the complex in mathematics to a person who is starting kindergarten. First, we learn 1 + 1 equal 2 as a number, and slowly, we go up. So in the same way, in Bhakti Yoga, it's also a science to know who we are. We have a body and soul. We have a body and mind. External means outside ourselves. How can we use our body and the mind in order to make progress in our development of spirituality? But for that, we need to be free of the contamination of the lower world of nature. This is a difficulty. Because in our world, especially now, there are three gunas, we call like that. Sanskrit, called sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva means goodness, rajas means passion, and tamas means ignorance. So in our modern life, we are very much influenced by passions and ignorance. So it is difficult in terms of influence to catch, to understand pure knowledge, real knowledge, because we need goodness. And another problem that we have is very often we have a false pride that helps us to believe that we can understand everything by the process of experimental knowledge. We have seen in some of the presentation that I did that actually the modern science is mainly using to get knowledge. We're using, we call it in Sanskrit, pratyaksha means experience, and anumana. Anumana means hypothesis. Like, Newton, when he discovers the theory of gravitation, he used pratyaksha, it's experience. He saw something, he concluded something. And Darwin, when he did his theory of evolution, he makes the hypothesis. So this is mainly the two ways to get knowledge according to modern science. It is ascending process. On the contrary, Vedic knowledge is descending from a chain of disciplic succession, we call parampara in Sanskrit. And that descending process, if the source is perfect, and if it is transmitted perfectly by this chain, the knowledge comes to us in a perfect way. And if we want to take that knowledge, and if we are qualified for that, we can get that knowledge. But in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, it's a very scientific chapter 13. Prakriti, about Purusha and consciousness. We say it's about matter nature, the controller, and consciousness. And Krishna explained in that chapter that there are some process to get the knowledge. It's not information knowledge. Usually in the Western university, we receive knowledge, we receive a lot of information. We need to remember that for the exam. Sometimes after the exam, we forget. Maybe we have experienced that also. But the way to get knowledge according to the Vedas is we need to have some state of mind, some qualities like humility, like tolerance, like wanting to have guidance, like to have purity of heart. These are the qualification to get real knowledge according to the Vedas. It's very, very subtle, you know. And of course, Dr. Singh, in that essay, he explains that we need to control the mind, train the mind. And for that, we need to follow certain discipline. It's not according to our azar or our wish or our mind. No, no, no. And one of the main things to, can say, control our mind is to hear and chant some mantras. Mantra is a Sanskrit word. It comes from the mana means mind, and praya means liberation. Means to liberate the mind from impurities. And in the Vedas, it is explained that the most important mantra is called the Maha Mantra. Maha means great. Maha Mantra, it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Thus, if we practice that, if we hear and chant, actually, this is the science of reciting mantra. It means we chant and we hear at the same time. We can chant Hare Krishna and same time I hear that. So it means if it is real, if it is a true mantra, it's going to purify our mind. And by purification, we can see things more clearly. Who are we? It's not a small question. But actually, we need to have that clarification to know who are we in reality. And then with that system, we can advance in our journey to God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. And at that time, we can be free from reincarnation. This is the goal of the Vedic literature, helping us to become free from the cycle of birth and death. And like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada was saying, to go back home, back to Godhead. So I conclude, of course, that presentation by putting some contact, for people who want to have more information. There is the Bhaktivedanta Institute, or people contact the Bhaktivedanta Institute of Calcutta. Actually, there are a few group of devotees of scientists, interesting by science and spirituality, actually, most of them, who are some, we can say, branches of Bhaktivedanta Institute. We have in Calcutta, in Mumbai, we have in Kalachua, in America. So, Srila Bhakti Swarupananda Maharaj, Dr. Singh, was a disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and in 1974, Srila Prabhupada and Dr. T.D. Singh and a few other persons created what we call Bhaktivedanta Institute in 1974. And the two first branches were in Mumbai at that time, and near San Francisco, in California, America. And it was especially some person who have a PhD. Dr. Singh has a PhD in physical organic chemistry. You know, Rabika probably had a PhD in mathematics. So they were the first members, we can say, of the Institute. Most of them have leisure body, 2006 for Dr. Singh. And but he wrote many books. First book that he wrote, it is called The Scientific Basis of Krishna Consciousness in 1973. And so I just show you the small essay about the fundamental principle of reincarnation that he wrote in 1979. And person who are interested by his books can see the website and they can buy book, These were books also in paper and also online with Amazon. And if person has some interest, they can also contact me. I put my WhatsApp number, email number. I have actually a few YouTube channels, one science and spirituality in English, one science and spirituality in French, you know, and you can contact me if you have some interest about that topics, because it can be very helpful to understand what is life, what is consciousness. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.